5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're now tuned into the 411 podcast and reading Between the Wines, powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network. More than a podcast, this is a sanctuary for self-discovery, healing, and personal growth. Here, we explore what it means to live debt-free, not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Every episode is part of a journey across our weekly mentorship series: Spiritual Sundays, Mental Mondays, Transformational Tuesdays, Wind Down Wednesdays, Coaching Sessions Thursdays, and Financial Fridays. Each day holds space for wisdom, clarity, and real conversation. So grab your journal, pour your glass, and prepare to go beyond the surface. Because here, we don't just talk, we transform. And now, here's your guide through it all, entrepreneur, mentor, and founder of Black Diamond Consultations, Laren Gaines.
What's going on? What's going on? Welcome on in to the 411 podcast. This is Coaching Sessions Thursday. We are kicking this thing off. Dis 6 Vitality, Episode 5. Discipline isn't punishment. So, of course, we speak debt-free living here on the 411 podcast and reading Between the Wines, helping you break through with everyday, real life conversations. That's what we're here to do. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. And before we kick this thing off and continue down this road, I want to go ahead and give a very special thank you to my executive producer, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for giving me another opportunity to come out here and do the 411 podcast. And I also want to thank each and every one of you out there. Thank you all so much for checking out the new podcast series. I appreciate that. For those of you out there who tuned in on the season premiere night, thank you so much. Please do me a favor if you're out there. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend, text a friend, put it in the comments. Let me know where you are calling from, where you're chilling from, what you doing. Holla at me. Let me know what's going on. Track 5, Discipline Isn't Punishment. Song of the day, The Light by Common. And I love this record when I first heard it in 2000. And of course, you have the elements of Stevie Wonder. And what I love with the chorus part, the Stevie part, is I'm going to do this some justice here. There are times when you need someone, and Stevie's basically saying, I will be by your side, and there is a light that shines special for you and me. But, we remix it here. And instead of waiting for somebody else to be the light, instead of someone else shining the light on your situation, I'm so still on that encourage yourself movement. Sometimes you have to be your own light because you can't always rely on somebody to be the light there for you. So as we remix this thing, you are the light. You have to be your own light. And of course, if somebody wants to join in on a party and want to go ahead and brighten up your situation a little bit more, but please make sure that you have enough light within you to shine all over your situation, because you have to do it first and you can't rely on somebody else to do it for you. And there are times when we may not want to do it. We may not want to. We might think that our light is a little dim. It's not on point like we want it to be. But that's where discipline comes in. That's where consistency comes in. And that's what we're going to speak about here tonight. Of course, kicking this thing off in 2026, coming fresh off of the holidays. And I'm going to make sure that I keep this on the forefront because I do know that this is a time where people struggle the most with discipline and consistency and getting back on track after what we've been through. So we're going to speak about budgeting, of course. That's so important and that's so key in this debt-free living process and aligning our lifestyle, adjusting our lifestyle. We may not be where we want to be today, but what are we going to do to adjust our lifestyle to make sure that we hit our target goals? And it's so important with consistency, and consistency matters more than intensity when rebuilding your financial order. Now, we're going to help out Miss Nicole from Arizona. And Nicole writes, I keep waiting to feel ready to budget, ready to say no, ready to live smaller for a while. But that feeling never comes. What comes instead is guilt, then another swipe, then another promise I don't keep. I've tried starting over more times than I can count. New planners, new apps, new systems. I go hard for 2 weeks, sometimes three. Then life happens. A bad day at work, a fight with my sister, a night where I don't even want to be strong anymore. That's usually when I spend. Not on anything wild, just little things that make me feel like myself again. Clothes, takeout, home decor that I don't need. I know discipline is supposed to help, but it feels like punishment. Like I'm being asked to give up everything that makes life bearable. What I really want is relief, not from responsibility, but from the shame. I've tried starting over, and I'm tired of taking myself up. Excuse me. I'm tired of talking myself up just to let myself down again. How do you build discipline without turning your life into something you resent? That is so important. And we are going to help out Miss Nicole. But before I go ahead and give my response, please know that I am a financial coach. I am not a financial advisor. I am not a financial planner. Please make sure that you do your own due diligence. I'm just speaking from real life experiences, in most cases, my life experiences. So, this is what I would do, in my opinion. This is not necessarily the blueprint of what you should do. You have to make sure you do your own due diligence, your own research. And let's get right on into this thing here. This is so important because when we are on this debt free journey, this debt free living journey, when you're not used to it, it could sometimes feel like punishment. And this is where you have to make sure that you stick close to people who can support you. You need a great support system. Remember, you are only an average of the five closest people that you surround yourself with. So if you are trying to get your life together, but you surround yourself with people who are not aligned properly with the debt free living philosophy, it could be a struggle for you. Now, you says, I keep waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel ready, that could be an issue depending on how far you're in debt. Because I'm not sure that that moment really comes where we're really ready. I know that point might come where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and you don't want to do this again. Maybe that's the same thing you're speaking about. Only thing that I could say for people who are out there, excuse me 1 second. The only thing that I could say is for people who are out there that say that they want to feel ready or they're not sure when they're ready. The only thing that I can say, and I know this might sound weird, is to just keep on doing the same thing that you're doing. Eh, I don't know if this is the best advice, but I would say just keep doing the same thing that you're doing. The downside about it is that you're going to still continuously dig yourself a deeper hole, which isn't good. That's why I'm saying that I'm not quite sure that this is the best. I'm not here to give you any advice, but keep doing the same thing that you're doing. Eventually, you're going to get sick and tired of it. But on the flip side of it, let's hope that you get sick and tired of it in a timely fashion. Because the more that you stay stuck, the more that you stay down, the longer it is going to be for you to be able to get up out of this situation. You said you want to feel ready to budget, ready to say no, ready to live smaller for a while, but that never comes. What comes instead is guilt. And then because you're guilty from what you're doing to yourself, you just continue to stay in, whatever situation you're in and continue to swipe and continue to make another promise and continue to say that you're not going to do it again, but then you end up doing it again. This is a prime scenario of you have to wait until you get good and sick and tired of yourself. Because when you're good and sick and tired of yourself, you will do whatever is possible to make sure that you get up out of that situation and stay out of that situation. So I get it because I've been there before. And it's not just with, the financial aspect of it. It could flow into relationships. It can flow into, I want to get out of this job. I can't stand my boss, but oh, maybe I'll just go ahead and give her the benefit of the doubt. And then, she will be nice for a couple days. And then a week later, she cuts up. And then you're sitting here beating yourself up again and saying, you know what? Last week, when we were ready to fill out the applications, last week, when we were ready to go on the job interviews, we should have just went ahead and did it. But yet, you fell into the trap again of thinking that this boss is not going to go ahead and show you their ugly colors again. And then this is where I take it back to day one. When people show you who they are, we ought to believe them the first time, not the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And on that note, while we there, we can say that with ourselves because you have to know yourself more than anybody. You know yourself more than anybody else do. So you got to get good and sick and tired of yourself, sick and tired of being sick and tired of when you know who you are. You know exactly who you are. You know what your patterns are. You know what you're used to doing. You know what's comfortable for you. You know the patterns, you know the situations. And then this is where you have to kick it into gear and say, okay, now this is a game of defeating self. I don't have to worry about people on the street. I don't have to worry about anything, anybody, except on making sure that I'm going to be a better I was yesterday. You said you tried starting over more times than you can count. New planners, new apps, new systems. You go hard for 2 or 3 weeks and then something happens, life happens. You had a bad day at work, you have issues with family, a night where you just don't want to be strong anymore, and then you just fall into the trap of spending. This is where I'm talking about. I believe that this journey, when it comes to debt-free living, and not even just debt-free living, so we this could be just anything. When it comes to wanting to do better, they always say when you know better, you do better. But is that really the case? Because sometimes we know better, but we still don't do better, not right away. And we get to where we are here, January, new year, new you, and we sign up for the gym memberships. We get the new apps, the new planners, the new systems, and then we don't stick to it. And you know the song by Donnie McKirkland, We Fall Down, but we get up. He said something so profound. I think it was on a reprise version, the live version, and he's breaking down the Proverbs. And again, I don't want to quote this scripture because I don't know the exact one. I'm still a work in progress, but somewhere along the lines that a righteous man will fall down 7 times. I'm sure y'all have heard that. And again, I know I might be off with it, but basically, the way he broke it down, it just was so, it was so, just on, I can't even think of the right word to describe it, but it was really on point because he said, even though the righteous man fell down 7 times, I don't know, it might have been something 7 times 7, 7 times 70, he has sense enough to get back up. Ugh, when I heard that part, it just came full circle. He has sense enough to get back up. So that was so powerful, even from my life, even in my situations when I have felt, fell short. You got to have sense enough to get back up again. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay down. The fact that you are able to open up your eyes and take a breath the next day lets you know that you've already won the battle. But see, because what happened yesterday, what happened just 2 seconds ago, is done. You have to focus on the present moment and focus on seeing a bright and beautiful future. And you can't stay stuck in the past. Yes, we've made mistakes. Yes, we've done things wrong. Yes, that relationship didn't work. Yes, you might have had an issue with somebody on your job. I get that. But that is in the past and it continues to fall away second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. We can't stay stuck in the past. So I get that you've tried all of the apps and the planners and this, and you went hard and you gym memberships and all of that. Get back up again. Discipline yourself. And when you are on a good streak, you said you go hard for 2 or 3 weeks, reward yourself, encourage yourself, discipline yourself. When things are going good, this is when we have to be very on point and we can't get cocky. We can't get too full of ourselves because with pride, first comes pride, then comes destruction. We can't, and we have to be very careful with what we are saying, what we are speaking over our lives, what we are sharing with people, because you can speak blessings or you can speak a curse over your life. So when you are doing well, I believe that's the point where you have to be even more careful and you have to be even more disciplined to make sure that you stay on track. And you said that there are some times where you don't want to be strong anymore. Whenever you have that moment where you feel that you don't want to be strong anymore and you feel like you might want to give up, that's the time where you need to get into some real hardcore discipline prayer. You need to look at all of the distractions that are around you. You need to unplug from whatever you are plugged into and attached to, and take some time to look at your life. I was just thinking about how things were so intense for me a few weeks ago, doing stuff for, this situation, other obligations that I have outside of Black Diamond Consultations. Some that we love, others we don't. It's just, temporary for the moment. But things that are outside of Black Diamond Consultations, it does something when it starts to consume and take up a lot of my time where I don't want anything to compete with Black Diamond Consultations. Like this is, you know, what I do. This is what God has put me here to do. So this is my main thing here. Everything else, it's secondary. But I see how we have to be very careful. And this is, me speaking to myself with the attachments and the commitments that I make. Because the minute that it starts to pull away from this joint right here, huh, I feel a certain way. So when you don't want to be strong anymore and you're pulling away from what you know is right to do, that's when I would say you might need to start to look what you have yourself attached to, what commitments you have signed up for, what you have agreed, the contracts, the for me, less is more today. I don't need all of that. I don't want all of that. And you spend and you spend and you say it's not on anything wild, things that just make you feel like yourself again. This is an issue. When we think that clothes, people, money, materialistic things, taking vacations, trips, and all of these things are going to make us feel a certain way about ourselves. That's very temporary. You can dress it up all you want. Mary J. Blige has a song called Whole Damn Year. And she says, yes, I look good on the surface, but I'm a mess. I'm a mess underneath. All that clothes, makeup, jewelry, and all that stuff, if you haven't centered yourself and looked within, because everything starts with self. If you haven't centered yourself and you haven't looked within and you haven't done your work, all those clothes, jewelry, makeup, all of that stuff is going to just be very temporary. And you can dress it up and you can look good on the surface, but still be a mess underneath. The takeout, ordering food, all of that stuff, temporary. What do you feel like after you eat the food? What do you feel like after you get home and get behind closed doors and it's just you? What do you feel like after you went out there and spent money and flexed and act like you had it when you really didn't? And then the bill is showing up in the mail. What do you look like and feel like after you go ahead and you sign that new lease agreement just so you can pull up to work and have a new car just like everybody else to keep up with the Joneses? I know I've been there and done that before. Struggling to make a payment because you're worried about what somebody thinks about you with the car you pull up in a parking lot. You said, I know discipline is supposed to help, but it feels like punishment. Nobody ever said that this whole process here was going to be easy. Nobody ever said that this process here was ever going to be easy. It is not for everybody. And in fact, so many people come to me and they ask for, advice, debt-free living, and can't give you any advice, but one thing that I can tell you is that this is not for everyone. If you are not good and sick and tired of your current situation, if you feel that you still want to go ahead and use a credit card, you still care about the clothes, let's just back this up. You still care about what somebody else thinks about you. You might have some insecurity, some anxiety based off of what somebody else thinks about you. You ain't ready. In my opinion, mm-mm. And know that this is not easy. It can be accomplished. Many people do it. I've done it. I'm still doing it, but it's not easy. And think about how long it took you to get into this situation. How many years were you living incorrectly? It can be changed. Neuroplasticity is a thing. Absolutely. I'm living proof of that. You can change that mindset. You can reprogram yourself. But just as long as it took you to get into this situation, it's going to take you some time to get out. It's going to take you some time to reprogram yourself. It's going to take you some time to pay up that debt. It's going to take you some time to clean up your environment. It's going to take you some time to say no when you really wanted to say yes. You said you want relief, not from responsibility, but from the shame. You're tired of starting over. You're tired of talking yourself up just to let yourself down again. It sounds like you are already defeated because tomorrow is another day. God willing, tomorrow will be another day. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, know that you can get up, just like the righteous man. Have sense enough to get back up and do it again. But here's the thing, when we get back up, just start looking forward. Don't look back. If you're too busy looking back in a rearview mirror, you can't see where you're going. And when you get good and sick and tired of your situation and you've hit rock bottom and you've humiliated yourself, you've embarrassed yourself, you've got yourself into so much debt that it's like, hey, what else you want me to do? I'm here now. I did this. Can't stand it. Worn out. I could care less what anybody else thinks about me because I'm going to drive whatever I drive. I'm going to turn this in. They can come pick this up. I'm going to cash this in. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to downsize this way. I'm going to downgrade that way. I'm going to unfollow. I'm going to unsubscribe. I'm not going to go there anymore. When you get to that point where you really don't care what somebody else thinks about you won't be worried about all of this extra stuff. You won't be letting yourself down. If anything, you'll be lifting yourself up. And your main question is, how do you build discipline without turning your life into something you resent? I look at the end picture. What I would resent is staying in the same situation that I was in before. Being in a relationship, being in relationships, staying at jobs that no longer serve me. That's where the resentment came in for me. That's where the attitude came in. That's where the didn't know how to act right came in because I didn't want to be here. I didn't want this situation. I mean, I did, but then when I got it, I didn't want it. I put myself in this situation because I didn't look at the red flags. I didn't believe people when they showed me who they were the first time. That's where the resentment comes in. Look at where you want to be. Think of where you want to be 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 3 years from now. Think of that and look at where you're at here today. If you want to talk about resentment, staying stuck in a situation that no longer serves you is something that I would resent. There's a lot going on here tonight. There's a lot. Spiritually, we need to understand and know who we are. So we need to start to look at our environment and see what can we perspective. Are we living our lives the way God had intended us to? That's the first step. And after we clean that up, get back on track, clean up our environment, unsubscribe, unfriend, unfollow certain people that might influence poor decisions. Then we need to focus on that mindset, because the mindset is so important. The spiritual aspect is number one, because if you don't know who you are, other people will be able to shape you and mold you and turn you into the person that they want you to be. And then all of a sudden you wake up and realize, what is this? Who is this person? I did not sign up for this. And you want to talk about resentment when you wake up and realize that you've been living a lie. That's not what God has intended for you. You didn't have enough in you to, you just signed up for somebody else's plan. Focus on the mental. Change the mental. Easier said than done. Look back. What was your childhood experiences like when it came to money? Who is the first person that comes to mind that you can think of that taught you about money? Was that a good example? How are they living financially today? How did their story end? Do you see a correlation? Or are you following the same patterns, whether directly or indirectly? Before we even get into the physical realm, I believe we need to just stay focused right there for right now. Because when you don't know who you are, you got to stay focused on that spiritual aspect. You got to stay focused on that mental aspect before you start thinking about building any type of wealth or any grand financial decisions or situations. You got to focus on the spiritual and the mental aspect of it, cleaning things up and getting healthy from a spiritual perspective, healthy from a mental perspective. And a lot of times that includes losing some people that were never originally destined to go with you in the first place. Unplugging from situations, removing yourself, taking responsibility for your life and doing something a little bit different. And this is where this discipline comes in. And if you feel that it's punishment, you're not ready. You're still playing the game. You're still out in the field. You're still being drained and depleted. You haven't gotten to the low level yet to where the panic button is ready to be hit and you need help getting pulled out. The whole term, the whole saying of how do you build discipline without turning your life into something you resent? You haven't looked at the end game yet. You don't know what the end game is for you. Yeah, I'm just like, wow. That's a deep, bold word, resent. Sounds like you still want to have fun. Sounds like you still want to, because if you're truly tired, you've really had enough. I'm not sure that you would resent cleaning your life up. You would know that spending money recklessly, doing things of that nature, is not something that you would want to sign up for. It's not showing good stewardship, not being financially responsible. The life that you're currently living is something that you may resent if you don't make some quick decisions when it comes to the spiritual, mental, and I would just say physical and financial aspect of your life. But it first starts in the spiritual realm when we're walking around here not knowing who we are. And if you're walking around not knowing who you are, not knowing what you've really been put here to do, you might still find yourself as being a people pleaser. You might still find yourself agreeing to things that you may have not really wanted to agree to, going places, spending recklessly, committing yourself to relationships that and staying in them that no longer serve you. That's a strong indication of a person who does not know who they are. That's going to be something that you resent. And you may not see it now. Fast forward. Fast forward a bit. And I'm using that word again, hope, which I don't like to use it, especially after Dick Gregory going through and saying what he has to say about hope. But I hope that that's not going to be something that you resent. Not making the decision, not making a move, not getting up and taking responsibility for your life. You staying exactly where you are, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results is a definition of insanity. You doing that is going to be something that you resent. Yes, it might be hard. Yes, it's a discipline. Yes, you might have to do some uncomfortable things. Yes, you might, you know, cut back on this. Don't go here, don't go there. Something that you're not really used to. Yes, it's discipline. But in the long run, when you see the results and you see the end game, if you're consistent and you're on point, that should never be anything that you would resent. Freedom, freedom from the stress, the debt, the nonsense, the drama, the ability to be able to make moves freely and buy back your time. I don't know anybody that's going to resent that. At least I don't know them. There might be people out there, but that's a whole nother story. That doesn't sound right to me. So, in any case, if you're out there tonight, let me know what you think about tonight's assignment. Please feel free to text me 609 200 1098. Again, that number is 609 200 1098. That is the official 411 podcast Reading Between the Wines hotline. And tonight I have a burning question for reflection. Are you resisting discipline because it restricts you or because it exposes where you've been inconsistent? Are you resisting discipline because it restricts you or because it exposes where you've been inconsistent? Sometimes we don't want to do the right thing because we haven't built enough muscle, enough strength around the thing that we want to do because there's been so many inconsistencies. And when there is so many inconsistencies, it will not be like clockwork. It will not come second nature. And it may feel like a task. But when you're consistent and you're on point and it's clockwork and you built the muscle, whether it's the mental muscle, the spiritual muscle, the physical muscle, the financial muscle, it will just become so much like clockwork that you won't even have to think. You'll be able to do it in your sleep. Do it with your eyes closed, walking backwards, hands tied behind your back. See, if it feels like a task, if it feels like a job, if it feels like something that's out of the normal, it could be because you haven't been consistent enough. Now, I'm not saying that it will not be a task. It may not be easy peasy. It might be an uphill battle, but once you commit to something and you're consistent and you're on point and you're disciplined enough and you focus on defeating self, because everything starts with self. You stop looking outside, you stop looking at other people, you stop pointing at other people, and you turn inward and you look within self, because everything starts with self. Man, sounds like a plan to me. Sounds like success to me. Sounds like it'll end up being easy to me. I don't know who I'm speaking to. I'm only speaking from real life experiences. But if you feel a certain way, you know something that I don't know. Because listen, we all here and we can grow together and learn together. Let me know. Drop it in the comments. Text me 609 200 1098. Let me know how you feel. You may also email me info@larengaines.com. Now, if you were interested in anything that you've heard tonight when it comes to debt-free living, please head on over to larengaines.com. You can sign up for a free 15-minute consultation. You can apply to see if you'll qualify for the coaching sessions. That is my program through Black Diamond Consultations. And I focus on debt-free living through the spiritual, mental, physical, and financial lenses. I believe the first step is focusing on the spiritual aspect, understanding and knowing who you are. It's important so you can see where you're going, know what your purpose is, dig deep to figure out what your calling is. From there, focus on the mental aspect, cleaning up, refinishing, restoring, resurfacing the mental aspect. When it comes to the people, places, material things, how are we accepting it and processing it and working through things from a mental aspect when it comes to money? I believe that focusing on the spiritual and the mental, they go hand in hand. It will automatically make it easier when you're showing up in the physical realm. You should start to look at things differently when it comes to how you're showing up from in a physical realm, when it comes to how you're spending your money, better food choices. And if you are doing that in a physical realm, as in taking care of yourself, health means wealth. Take care of your body, you'll make better financial decisions. And if you're making better financial decisions, because you're getting the rest that you need, you're able to think properly. You'll be able to build wealth. Your financial wellness will grow and build over a period of time. If that is something that you're interested in, you're ready on this journey, you're ready to start this journey, you're ready to cut up the credit cards, you're ready to be done with the payday loans, you want to pay off your car, you want to pay off your home, head on over to larengaines.com. Sign up for the free 15-minute consultation for the coaching sessions. Any questions, comments, concerns, reach out 609 200 1098. Again, that number is 609 200 1098. And you may also reach out via email. Email me info@larengaines.com. Now, I want to say thank you all so much for hanging out with me. This has been a journey, and we still on this journey. We still on this ride, and there's so many exciting things that are coming down the pike. I feel that vitality is so different this time around. I feel like I'm just in a different space. I'm in the space where I need to be right now. And I thank y'all for coming on this journey with me. And so many great things are coming up this season. Stick around. Check me out on all of my social media platforms. You never know what I'm going to drop when I drop. Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, D Live, Twitch, Daily Motion. Check me out. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you when I see you. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the 411 podcast and Reading Between the Wines, where growth is always on the menu, and every pour reveals a little more truth. The conversation doesn't end here. Have something to say? Want to weigh in on tonight's burning questions? Text us anytime at the official 411 podcast and Reading Between the Wines hotline at 609-200-1098. Stay plugged in across all social media platforms at Laryngains. We're live and in the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, D Live, Twitch, and Daily Motion. Prefer to listen on the go? The audio version is streaming on most major podcast outlets. Until we meet again, take what you've learned, sip slow, speak truth, and remember, transformation starts within. Powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network.